All right, so we're going to do deployment really quick. We ran into a couple problems earlier, so we're going to launch a new instance and get this going. So I'm going to start by coming into this Ubuntu. I'm going to select this T2 Micro on Ubuntu 16.04. I'm going to edit the security groups, add a couple rules here. We'll add in HTTP, and we won't set it up, but we can also add in HTTPS. All right, hit review and launch. And go hit launch. I do have this one already from earlier, so I'm going to use that same key pair, but you can also come in and choose create a new key pair and download that. But for the sake of not having so many, I'm going to go ahead and just use this one that I already have. All right, so now that that's launching, we can come click on View Instances, and I'm going to come back to my terminal over here. Now what I've done is I have already set up my Git repository, and we've made some changes, so I'll just go ahead and hit Git add all, Git commit, updated stuff, and then push master. Everybody should be familiar with getting the GitLab or GitHub account set up initially, so I'm not going to go into that, but once that's done, I should be able to come over here and see my Angular code. And that's taking its dear sweet time to update, and that's all right. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm in my downloads, and I have a May 17 test.pm. Okay, so what I'm going to do is come back to my management console, click on this one that's running, and click on connect. And I can just copy this in so that I'll be able to connect into my, whoops, there we go, yes. Okay, so now I'm into my Ubuntu system. All right, so we shouldn't have had too many problems up to here, basically getting our GitLab set up and installing or creating a new EC2 instance. Okay, now I ran through this to make sure that I could account for all the errors that you might run into. So there is, I'll send this out just so everybody has it. And these are going to be all the commands that we're going to run. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start, and we'll just run through these one at a time. Make this a little bit skinnier here so I can have the two side by side, and I will send this out to everyone so that they have access to that. Okay, so we'll say sudo apt-get update. And there are some of these will run a little bit slow, but that's okay. And while that's running, I'm going to copy this one since I don't want to type all of that out. Paste that in. Same thing here. Copy the next version over. Paste that in. All right, so once again, these are all just the packages that we need in order to run everything. We're installing NPM, we're installing Node, we're installing everything that we need in order to get this up and running, things that you would have already had on your computer previously. All right, Node, saying make sure we use the correct version of everything. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and install Angular CLI as well, so that I have access to that. And this may take a second, and that's all right. And then the last thing I'm going to do is grab Git and Nginx. And this one does take a minute, so we will sit here while this installs. All right, there we go. So that's all done. So I'm going to go ahead and cd into /var/www. Like we talked about earlier, if your system doesn't have it, right, it says that that doesn't exist here. So I'm going to go ahead and run, you can see right here, makedir /var/www. Sudo, excuse me, makedir /var/www. Okay, so let's go ahead and, whoops, cd/var, cd/www. There we go. That was way harder than it needs to be. Okay, so at this point we're now going to clone our GitHub or our GitLab in this situation. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to make sure that it's on HTTPS. Copy that, and we'll say git clone, and paste that in. And I'll put in my information here, and that should clone in. If I do an ls, there we go. So I can see there's my Angular deployment right there. All right, so I'm going to come back up here, and let's go ahead and we'll cd into our sites available, which is part of our Nginx setup. And whoops, you know what? I think I forgot to run this command right here. That's my bad. To get Nginx installed, we definitely want to do that. And if I'm not mistaken, that will usually create that www for you. Okay, so now let's cd to /etc/nginx/sites available. All right, there's a default in there right now. I'm going to go ahead and say sudo vim angular-deployment, which is the name of my GitHub repo, which is also the name of the project. I'm going to hit I so that we can insert, copy this, paste it in, and now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to delete all of this, and we're going to put in our private IP address and our port number. So if I come back, remember this is a private, not a public, so we're going to grab this one right here, this 172 IP address. So we'll paste that in and then say :6789 because that is the port that I have my app listening on, which I can find right there. Okay, so let's see. From this point, I'm going to come back to here, hit escape, :WQ to write that out, and move this back over. And now we're going to remove that default that is also sitting next to our Angular deployment. So I'm just going to say sudo rm default. Now we need to create this symbolic link right here, okay? And so I'm just going to copy this, include the S. We'll paste it into here, and once again, Angular-deployment, because that is what I called my project. And we'll do it one more time, Angular-deployment, right? Matching what I have up here. Go ahead and hit enter. Now I can cd into sites enabled, which is where I created the symbolic link, or I can just remove it directly, which this command right here is going to do. So I'll go ahead and just paste that in. Let's see, let's make sure that Nginx sites enabled. All right, it's there. So rm default. I accidentally put sudo in front instead of or after the cd. So that's my bad. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll move on. We're going to install npm, not npm, but pm2, which is going to keep our server running. So I hit that. That should install. All right, we'll go back to our root directory here. And I'm going to make Ubuntu the owner of this directory. Okay, so we'll say sudo chown -r, and then our repo name, which is Angular. So sudo chown r Ubuntu Angular deployment. There we go. I missed the Ubuntu part. So Ubuntu is the user that you automatically get logged in as when you connect it to your EC2 instance. And so that's why I'm making him the owner, because that's who we are logged in as currently. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go into my deployments, or excuse me, into my project. Now we get ignored all of our node modules files and folders. So I'm going to go ahead and just run sudo npm install here to get all of those. Now I'm going to go into my public folder or whatever folder you named your Angular app, and I'm going to run sudo npm install here as well. And it may be that this takes a minute in order for everything to install, and that's okay. Okay, there we go. So I'm now going to run ng build. We're going to run sudo ng build. And this will create that dist folder so that we are good to go and we're able to serve up our project. Okay, there we go. So we can see it ran and my dist folder has been built. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go and install MongoDB. Okay, now let's come back over here and I'm going to grab, we'll come down to this Mongo section right here. Okay, I'm going to copy this, paste that in. Okay, that looks good. Then I'm going to grab this version 16.04 because we're on Ubuntu 16.04. All right, and that looks good. So now what I'm going to run is sudo apt-get update, sudo apt-get install -y MongoDB. Okay, so we'll go ahead and now we need that /data/db, which is where our Mongo database will store everything. So I'm going to say sudo make dir /data, sudo make dir /data/db, and I mistyped that, make dir /data/db. Very nice. And then once again, I'm going to say Ubuntu, you are the owner of /data/db. So I shouldn't have any problems with permissions when it comes to that. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and run pm2 start server.js, and actually I believe I need to go up one folder first. There we go. You can see there's my server.js, and I'm going to run pm2 start server.js. There we go. Okay, so that's online. If I need to check the status of pm2 at any point, I can run pm2 status, or I can do pm2 logs and see if there's any anything going on. In this case, the only log was 6789. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of those logs. I'm gonna run sudo service nginx stop, sudo service nginx start. Okay, and let's go ahead and see if we've run into any problems at this point. Grab our public IP address, paste that in. We get a public, add dog. Let's see if we can add a dog. And there we go. Our dog has been added. Edit. We'll make him 5. Update. Home. There we go. And that's some beautiful CSS styling right there. Now, one thing to be aware of is if you noticed after I installed Mongo, I didn't do anything with it, right? But that's because it turned it on automatically in the background. Now, it will stay on by default, but if we want to, there's also a set of commands right here that you can run. So basically, it finds the mongod service, you kill the mongod service, go into your repo, and then you also run pm2 start mongod, and that essentially will once again be running mongod in the background. So two different options. One is it runs in the background already once you install it, or you can have it be running through pm2. And there we go. That's deployment.